Now with the block, so let me just bring this down. I know just sort of right at the end, I put in those little dots to indicate which triangles I was going to carve out. Does everyone have dots, sort of alternating dots like that? Okay. And now, so Nikki, if you want with your block to sort of measure, and you can just cut it in half with your scissors, and maybe you can, I'll come over and show you that pattern in a second, or if you want to try to figure it out. I just need Alrighty. So get out your tools, and I know you looked at them a little bit last time, that on the back of the tools, you can maybe see, like, there's a number 1, there's a number 5, number 3, oops. So I would suggest you can start with any tool, but I'm going to use the number 2 tool, okay? And if you haven't yet figured out how to put in that cutter blade, if I'm looking at my cutter handle here, yeah, I think this should be 5. You don't have 2? Oh, okay. Well, that could be so. The main thing right now, I'm hoping you have a 2. That with the cutter handle, when I loosen it like that, I sometimes push down that little bubble, because when they're brand new, it sometimes can be a little stuck. I'm going to suggest that you avoid loosening this so far that the whole thing comes off, because then you got to put it all back together. Because what the goal is, let's see if I can focus right here. That with your tool, you have the sharp edge, and then you have the other rounded edge. And if you can see, right, that this goes in between the little round ball. On one side it's kind of clogged, on the other side you get that little black gap right there. So I can stick that in. I'm going to need to loosen it a little bit. So it should be seated in thoroughly like that. You okay? Are people? And then just please make sure that you tighten it up. Yeah, Nikki, sometimes you got to like put the elbow into that, and yeah, and it might not be perfectly straight, and that's fine. So are people set? Yeah? Okay, there's a couple of things here. You may have noticed when you were making your containers that these are really sharp. And so rule number 1 when you're carving is carve away from the hand that's holding your block. So please do not have your hand like this and carve in this direction, because when you slip, you will cut yourself. So you can sometimes hold the block like this. You can put your hand like, sorry, don't cut on this table either. I know, but that could very, okay, all right. Sorry, I just got to, and so there's this right now we're totally into experimenting right now. And so I want you to try carving with the number 2, try with some of the other tools. And there's different ways of doing it. For example, I have this area here. Oh, sorry, let me back up. So number 1 is be extremely careful when you carve. Number 2 is there'll be time at the end of the class to clean up. You have a little dustpan and brush. please make sure that your area is clean. After last class, there was a couple of like ends of rulers and a few little pieces of, when people cut their block, there was stuff left around. So part of creativity is making a mess, and part of it is making sure that we leave this place better than when we started. So it's clean up, be careful, and say if I'm going to carve this block right here, what I want to do is just, I'm holding it carefully, and I'm just going to gently push forward like that. And when I get to the end, then I start coming up a little, so my line ends roughly there.
Also, do you use this part? I thought it was flipped.
No, you want to see where that V, where that V is. Now, I could just do another line right here, or I could just go, I could sort of do the outlines of my triangle.
So we're carving out the dots.
Yeah, so we're going to carve out, we're going to remove the material where the dots are. And so what I want you to really experiment with is, well, yes, I want you, thank you. I want you to carve out some where you carved out entirely all the material from one of your triangles. So here, let me just continue on here. Because what will happen when we start printing these is you'll see, well, maybe I should have gone a little bit deeper. Like right now I have a few little pieces right there that are sticking up. So when I roll ink on there, it might catch a little ink on there. And that's fine. As we saw from famous artists, sometimes there is that roughness, sometimes there's not. So you could try going deeper with some. You could also, as I mentioned when we looked at that Elizabeth Catlett sharecropper image, you could do one of your triangles where you just do stripes like this. So you could just experiment with, well, these lines are sort of far apart, but this is really all about experimenting with what things are going to look like when we print it. So why don't you go ahead and do some where you've carved it all out, some where you do some little lines, and then knowing this group, you're going to come up with a lot of other areas. I'm just looking out right now, and I've seen a lot of people carving right towards their hand. Okay, I've noticed several people. So it's going to be really important that, so just again as a demonstration, if you're carving, I'm seeing people carving like this, which is not good, or like this, which is not good. You want to hold the block back here and carve like that, or hold it here, push your fingers down and carve it. But please avoid carving towards yourself. And one other thing I've noticed with some people, I see some people are sort of holding the tool and pushing it like this. I think you can get a better, it's designed to be held like this, so you sort of have a little more of the weight of your arm, sometimes even standing, can help you get that little extra pressure and just be nice and precise as you're carving. So feel free to experiment with the other tools, and in some cases, I showed you that the Minuteman statue that I carved, that I would sort of carve out the edges of a large area. Sorry for that interruption. I was saying that you could experiment with, if you want to carve something of a precise edge, you could do that. So just carve the edges of your triangle and then get one of the larger tools just to kind of scoop out that inner part. What you can do, I'll just sort of push down And then maybe right around here, I start coming up a little bit. So you have to anticipate a little bit. Where's my line ending? You know, and then kind of pull up from there.